News 46. Local coverage you can count on.
You are watching Young at Heart. In case you just joined us, my next guest is Phil Ranieri, and he is the president and board of director for the Pahrump Valley Museum and Historical Society. Did I get it right?
You got it right, Lynn. You did a great job.
I was without a teleprompter or anything. See, I got to tax my memory occasionally, make it work for me.
It works that way.
It does work that way. So what does a director or the board of director do for the museum, and what's going on over there?
We're the management unit of the museum. So
Okay.
we are 501c3, which is a nonprofit organization, and so we have to have a board of directors so that we know where we're going and how we're going to get stuff done and spend money when we have money.
Yeah, definitely.
So the board of directors, like I say, it's the management unit
Yeah.
for the museum itself.
Now, the museum itself seems to just keep growing and growing and growing.
And I hope it continues to do that. I just read in the paper where this is the 2012 is, in fact, the year of the museums. And the reason it was saying that is because of the fact that the museums up in Las Vegas area, the Atomic Testing Museum just made national, so they are now the National Atomic Testing Museum. There's only two of them in the entire country. And then they're going to have the Mob Museum pretty soon, and then there's another museum that they're working on that they're going to be opening pretty soon too. So we're hoping that we're going to grow just like everybody else is growing. And for a town our size, we actually have a very large facility.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about the museum, how it's grown and what's going on now.
Well, we originally started back in the 90s. I mean, that's when they were starting to put the ideas together.
And it was that tiny one little...
Mr. Harry Ford and Chuck Gallivant were the people that were actually behind it. And they started collecting materials for the museum. Then in 2001, we got our nonprofit status, and from there we were able to get our first building, and the county put the building up, and that was 5,000 square foot.
Right.
And since then, actually about a year and a half or so, maybe almost 2 years now, we put up another piece of it on the end of it.
And we've got pictures that will be flashing by too. Yeah,
for another 4,500 square feet. So now we have 9,500 square feet in the building.
Okay, but the things as far as the what you have in the museum, does it pertain necessarily to the Pahrump area or Southern Nevada, the Death Valley? What all are you collecting?
We primarily are a Pahrump Museum, but of course we take in a lot of Nye County, everything that Nye County is doing, because that's part of our part of the history.
Right.
And then of course we wouldn't turn anything down from any place else in the state, so it would still be, we would go broad and say we would take in stuff from the entire state. But we only have so much room, so it's just like any other place. When you have enough room to store stuff, that's when you do it.
Right.
We have the only Lincoln room in the state.
Wow.
We have the Yucca Mountain display, which is absolutely very large, and that's the newest display we have, and that's in the new part of the building, our extension building.
So Lincoln was here?
No, Lincoln was never here.
I was thinking, Lincoln slept here.
Lincoln wanted us to become a state, but he was actually voted into an office again. He was reelected in 1864, and that's actually when we became a state. So the big thing is that we became a state actually after he was already in office, so we didn't get the vote on him.
Oh, wow.
But
interesting.
But he's still a part of our state. So there's a lot of memorabilia spread out around the state, but we have the only actual room which has a little bit more materials in it that people can come and see. It's a
Why do you think it's so important to have a museum and historical society, especially in this area?
Yeah, a lot of people think that a museum is just a house. In other words, a warehousing for historical materials. And it is at that, at one point, that's what it is. But at the same time, it's important to understand that it contains the history of the, well, depending on what your museum is supposed to be for.
Right.
Ours is containing the history of the area, and so we want to have an awful lot of material so we can use it as an educational tool, and that's what it is. So we have lots of the school children come over.
Just going to
and
ask about
people
that,
come
yes.
from all over. We've had people come from all over the world, actually, not to come to our museum, but when they were passing through town, maybe going out to Death Valley,
Valley.
they wind up actually stopping at our museum. We have a couple of signs on the roadway so they know where we are, and the Tourist Bureau helps us out from.
I was going to say that it wouldn't be a bad idea to approach the tourist bureau that brings all of the, all those tour buses to go to Death Valley to have that, actually in their brochure.
Yeah, they do. They
good,
do
good,
tell
good.
them.
That's just good to know.
We also have another program that just started. It just started this year again. The 2012 season of our speakers that just kicked off last month, and our speaker last month was Gary Hollis. Next month we have a really fine speaker that's coming in. He's part of the Chautauqua. Have you heard of Chautauqua?
Oh, yes, I've
before?
heard of Chautauqua,
Well,
yes.
we're having a Chautauqua. This man.
You may want to explain Chautauqua to people out there what it is.
Chautauqua is a speaker organization. It's actually all over the country. I don't know if it's all over the world, but it's all over the country. And they actually impersonate
A
people.
person, yeah.
And they take on the entire persona of the person. So it's really, really exciting when you see somebody. Now, this gentleman, his name is Peck, he is coming in. He's a Lincoln impersonator. And he's been doing it for about 20 years. He's been on national television and some of the local stations, and he's gotten awards for it. And we were told a couple weeks ago that he was number 3 in the Chautauqua. I don't know if it's just for Lincoln, but he was number 3 in the Chautauqua series. So he's coming in. He's going to be here on February 25th. We usually have our speaking engagements on the second Saturday, and this one is different because this is when we could get.
Right. Now,
get
this
him
is
to come
at the
in.
museum itself.
It's at the museum,
Okay.
and we'll have plenty of seating for people to come in, and we're hoping that a lot of people take advantage, and it's open to children too. So if the children want to come in and see what he'll be dressed
Right.
as Lincoln, and it's about Lincoln as a lawyer.
Right.
So it's good. Maybe some of the lawyers here in town should come to the thing so that they can get an idea of how they're supposed to do the stuff. But I think everything that's going on in the museum right now is pretty exciting. So
It sounds like it.
we have 4 acres altogether, and in the front 2 acres we have, of course, the main building facility. And then behind the facility, when you first come in the gate, if you've been there before, I don't know if you have or not, but there is a cabin right there. That's the Raycraft
I think that
cabin.
was one of the first, was the cabin not like one of the first buildings on the property?
It was, and we actually had displays in there before the
Right,
buildings were
yes.
ever built. They put that in there. Mr. Ford's father actually built the building, and it was over on the Raycraft Ranch, which was over on off of Wilson.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the first time I think it was on Wilson when I
Yeah.
first visited. When we
And anyways, they brought that when I guess the ranch went defunct or whatever. The building was going to be torn down, and Harry decided that he needed the building, so he went over and asked for it, and they gave it to him. So he took it apart, brought it over to the museum, put it all back together again, and that became the museum.
And
per
where
se.
is the local, or the museum actually sitting now? It's the address or in the location of?
I think it's 405. I don't even
Oh,
know.
okay,
I'm
but-
not sure the actual address is. It's off of Basin now.
Off of
It's
Basin?
on Basin. You can't
Basin
miss
and,
it.
it just goes
It's
straight
not,
down
there
Basin.
aren't, that's why I say it's kind of
Yeah, and you can't, like you said, you can't miss it
you
anymore.
can't miss it. No, it's a very it's a
grown
large
so much,
facility, and
yeah.
we got quite a bit. Besides the cabin, down from that we have the original Chamber of Commerce building, which was built in
wow.
the 1970s. And
So you depend a lot on donations and things like that, and people
Yes, we
bringing
do.
the items to you. And I noticed we've got just a few minutes or a few seconds left. Actually, some of the pictures, it looks like some bronze sculpturing.
we have bronze sculptures. Those were given to us by the original Harvest
Oh,
Festival
wow.
people.
got
They
an
were a
itchy nose, sorry.
501c3. They were a nonprofit also, and so what they did when they when you break up, you have to give all of your stuff away. It's a charity organization or another 501, and we were the recipient of the
They're
statues.
beautiful, and you'll see some of those photos as well.
And they
I
brought
just
the statues actually
love them.
for the museum. They weren't someplace else, although I understand that there's a place in Henderson where there are statues.
Yes,
of
they are.
someone.
And we appreciate you coming out, Phil, again, and we will keep up to date on all the things going on, especially the Chautauqua, the Lincoln, that would be
Yes,
interesting.
look for the
Look for that.
notices in the paper, and
Okay.
like I say, the second Saturday of every month until June, we will
Okay.
have a speaker.
Great, we'll be right back.
Thank you.